Okay, I'm not spending another month on this. We're doing this fast, we're doing this dirty, and we're doing it raw. So buckle up, shut up, and let's talk Dan.
No dick, no balls, and probably no butthole since this guy feeds on radiation.
So Dan's doing the rounds with the new anime being out and everyone crying over episode 7, which, you know, is good. It must have been International Hurt Your Fandom Day on November 16th because holy shit. But as someone who's been riding that down the dick since like 2021, I have been greatly anticipating this anime, and to see people genuinely be hyped up for it and give it the recognition that it deserves it's been beautiful, man. This shit means something to me, man. Not only that, but there's some serious talent behind the adaptation as well, with it being animated by Science Saru, the people behind Scott Pilgrim Takes Off, and with music done by Kensuke Yoshio, the same composer as Devilman Crybaby and Chainsaw Man, both goated shows. And to cap it all off, we have an incredible voice cast, both in Japanese and in English. Is that Rita fucking Repulsa? I need to do a Power Rangers video, man. I am too autistic to not talk about Power Rangers at some fucking point. But with all that stuff aside, is the show actually any good? Yes, there's your answer. Yes, it turns out when you get goated people to work on your show, they make goated shit. Who would have fucking thought? However, ever since I watched the first episode when it came out, there has been something nagging at me. Something about its vibe, its presentation that didn't quite ring true to me. That didn't quite hit home. Didn't quite tickle my testicles the way I'd wanted it to, you know? And let me be clear, I ain't saying the show is bad. Quite the opposite. It's funny, it's charming, it's incredibly well animated and stylish. It's a really good show and I do recommend you go watch it. But despite the show's merit, there was still something to me that was off, that fell a little flat. And over the course of me watching it, I was racking my brain thinking, well, what could it be? Why is it not quite hitting home to me the way the manga did? Well, what is it about this show that just falls a little bit flat? But then I get to episode 8, which at the time of recording is the most recent episode to have been released, and it dawned on me, it's not what the show does wrong, it's what the manga did so very well. Okay, so a thing that the manga likes to do is have these big old page long or double page long panels that showcase either a monster from the arc or a big old set piece or a devastating finishing move, something like that, right? And it's in these spreads that the style tends to go from relatively simple and that kind of like quote-unquote conventional anime style, you know, to having this incredible amount of realism and depth and detail that all just adds so much to the scene. Like 1 second you're screaming at these two fucking idiots to just kiss already, and the next, holy shit, is that Godzilla?
Run! It's Godzilla! It looks like Godzilla, but due to international copyright laws, it's not.
And this is where I think the anime kind of drops the ball for me, because while 90% of the time it does a very good job at capturing Yukinobu Tatsu's art style. I'm very sorry if I butchered that, by the way, I tried so hard. When they try and adapt these splash pages, they don't change anything about the style, and without that stark switch to realism, it doesn't really have the same impact as in the manga. But to be fair, look at those splash pages. How the fuck are you gonna animate that, bro? I fucking couldn't. Could you? No. You couldn't. Fucking hard, man. Plus, it's not the job of an adaptation to completely rip everything, bar for bar, word for word, from the original. A good adaptation isn't afraid to carve out its own identity, to do something new, to try something different, to maybe strike out a bit from the source material. And I think Science Saru understands this. I think they understand that manga and anime, they are two separate mediums with their own strengths and their own weaknesses. And where anime might fall short, they instead compensate with things that a manga simply would not be able to do. Going back to the Nessie scene for a second, both the anime and the manga have this bit where the main character Momo is hiding from this Loch Ness monster type creature. In the manga, the tension is built purely through the visuals. There's a lot of these blank panels with no dialogue or anything that show Momo hiding, then fucking up by making a sound in the water, and then there is an inference of sound with the help of those little splushes, but obviously with it being a manga, visuals is all we got. But in the anime, we get sound effects, we get spooky music, we get fancy camera work showing off the creature more, and we even get a more detailed Shin Godzilla reference. Look at that. Oh boy. And that's not even mentioning episode 7. Oh boy, episode 7. I think it says a lot that they were able to take what was ultimately a very small part of Dandadan's story and turn it into this incredibly impactful piece of television that emotionally resonated with a lot of people. Like, all I've seen since that episode's come out is people talking about how they cried and how good the writing was, how impressive the animation was and the music and da-da-da-da. And I think it showcases that while they might not be able to fully visually adapt the manga, Science Saru understands the spirit of the manga. They understand its vibe. And I think that's what makes a good adaptation, you know? So while I can bitch and moan about some abstract piece of sauce that the show is apparently missing, I cannot deny the pure talent that is on display with every episode of this show and the love that goes into it. And despite my nitpicks, I think the show permeates this wonderful weirdness that is so quintessentially Dandadan, you know? So yeah, that's my video on Dandadan. Not gonna lie, I haven't actually read it in a hot second, but it was still good last time I read, and it does very much hold a special place in my heart. So yeah, I highly recommend both the manga and the anime, and I also recommend that you like my video, pretty please. Maybe also subscribe? Possibly? Maybe? I'm just stay here until you do. I'm just stay here. I'm not gonna end the video until you do, man. I'm not gonna end the video. You gotta do it, man. I'm not gonna end the video until you do. I'm not gonna do it, man. You gotta like the video and fucking subscribe right fucking